Okay, Mr. Phobes here. I'm going to show you how to use the bucket tool to create some value variations in your pattern. So I have a tile here that I've created with a motif. So each motif is, you can kind of see it in there as 300 by 300. I created my 600 by 600 tile. So yeah, pretty interesting pattern, very organic, but it's just black and white. And if I uh, tile it into a pattern, it looks like that. And that's fairly interesting. Again, one way to create variety is to rotate every other tile. So I believe there you go. So what's interesting to look at is when you rotate it, look at the line that's created here. You almost create these oval shapes. So that's kind of nice. I think it's more interesting than this, where you know the lines create a circle, but they don't really rotate. Um, so what we're going to do is do something like this, and we're going to look at how creating this variety of values creates both emphasis. Now the emphasis is not on the circular part, but on these little interior leaf-like structures. Um, I've added a lighter gray and a dark gray, and I believe one medium gray there. So I've added three different grays. That's about as much as you want to go. Black, white, and maybe three different grays. More than that, it's going to get a little too complex. So this is basically, I'm going to show you how I did this to the tile. Now you could do it to the motif. The problem is seeing the results as a whole is much harder to do. So I like doing it on the tile, and then once you have the tile, then you just repeat it 9 times. So let's just see how we did this. Okay, so what we'll do in using the bucket tool is on the toolbar here. It may be hiding behind the gradient tool or the 3D material drop tool. Um, so you want to select that, and when you do, you'll notice there's a couple of, depending on your version, you can actually select the opacity level that the color will go into. Let's leave it at 100%. Um, the default tolerance is 32. Um, Again, the way that works is it works by contrast. So um, I'm going to leave it, I'm going to go back to 10 just because when I drop it, I don't want it going everywhere. Again, it's kind of like dropping liquid into a river or a lake. And you can see every time where there's an opening, see this, follow this around. So if I drop this in here, it's going to color everything that's open. All right. Um, so let me see if I can remember the values that I used. What I want to do is create a little bit more emphasis on this area and take emphasis away from these leaf-like structures. So I think what I'll do is I'll start with a lower value in here. So the palette is right here. You click on it, it brings up the color picker. And let me pick a color like this, hit OK, a value, and then so you can see how much it colors in. So I want to do it equally on the other side. All right. Maybe I want to make these not the same value, maybe just a little bit lighter. So I'll come up and I'll go. So I'll pick these guys. And I think while I'm at it, I'll do this. And I also want to bring down the value of these areas in here. So um, maybe I'll go just a little bit lighter. You can see it's a little bit tedious doing the entire pattern. If I had done just the motif, it wouldn't have taken as long. I'm going to take advantage of my knowledge of creating a gradation, and what I'm going to do is go from a darker gray to a slightly lighter gray to a lighter gray right here. So I'm going to go ahead and then I'll change the value, and I'll go just a little bit darker. I don't know if that's quite enough to get the idea. And then I'll change it again, and I'll go right about here. I might want to make these darker to go darker than this area, so that looks pretty good. So, play around with it, and again, one thing you might want to try is the rotation, and then once you've done that, play around with the grayscale. So that's pretty much all there is to it. You After you've done all that, you see that I've generated all these layers. So what I would do is I would go layer and then flatten image, and then save it as JPEG, and voila, you're done, ready to post it. That's that.